Hey guys. Hey guys, welcome. So excited to be here today. So excited to be finally launching our very first YouTube live as Get Corporate Ready. This is an exciting time for me, and I hope it's an exciting time for you as well. So we are going to be kickstarting this particular video with really just having a thorough conversation just around CVs, right? We're going to speak about CV essentials, but really the reason why we've put together this particular session is really for an opportunity for us to be engaging, right? We want to be engaging on a lot of different topics that pertain to you getting corporate ready and what some of those essentials actually are. Okay. So, but before we start, guys, let me know, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, if you can see me. And bear with me today. It's our first live. I am going to try and share one or two slides as we speak, but just let me know in the comments below whether you guys can see and hear me perfectly. Okay. Wonderful. Awesome. I see a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. There seems to be some process here. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just try to figure this aspect out. Okay. Welcome, guys. Welcome. I'm not seeing anyone type in the chat. Are you guys able to type in the chat? I see a thumbs up. Someone has put a thumbs up at the top. But are you able to actually type into the chat box? And if you're not, please just let me know. Yes, we can see you. Thank you. Okay, so I assume you can see, hear me. Perfect. Guys, where's everyone coming from? Or where are you streaming? Some of you still at work. I hope this time really works for most of you at 6 p.m. But I hope that this time is okay. I hope none of you are driving in traffic and trying to listen simultaneously, because I guess really the point of today's live is really just to be able to grab your attention, but also let's have an engaging session where you can almost reflect back on your actual CV and get a better sense as to where am I off track, where am I on track. So ideally, if you're sitting in front of your laptop, you're listening to me, you've got your CV open on the other end so that you can do almost a direct comparison between what your CV says and where it is that you're supposed to be based on what we'll be presenting today. The idea, guys, is for you guys to be able to take some nuggets out of today and really start crafting that CV that's going to make you stand out in the market. I know a lot of you, may be struggling to get into the types of roles that you're looking for. You may be applying to so many different places, not even getting any feedback, right? I know that's a very, very common, issue that people may have. And guys, I think a lot of times understanding from a recruiter's mindset and a recruiter's point of view, it's actually quite difficult to sift through hundreds of CVs just for one role and pick out maybe the top 10 people, right? Say there's 100 people that applied for a role. You want to pick out the top 10 people. You want to pick out the best candidates that you want to actually spend the time in an interview with, putting them in front of stakeholders, putting them in front of the business. So it is one of those things that, how your CV looks is actually what's going to help you guys get through the door. Okay. So I'm going to dive right in, guys, and really just speak a little bit more about what it takes to have a standout CV. I know a lot of you are going to continue to come as we are live. And I know there were one or two questions that were posed on the Instagram handle where I asked for Q&A. So that is definitely something that we will be addressing today. Okay. So one of the first things that I want us to really just get out of the way is, why are CVs essential in this day and age? And what is the key kind of differentiating factor, right? As I said, guys, as recruiters, as we go through the process of actually wanting to find that perfect candidate out of a pile of CVs for a particular role, your CV is actually the gateway to actually making someone decide whether they want to see you or not, right? So it's that first introduction to a potential recruiter, a potential client, a potential employer, right? So if you are not making sure that you are differentiating your CV, that you're ensuring that your CV actually looks attractive to someone and makes someone actually, I actually want to read this, right? If you are not going the extra mile to do that, and yet you are hoping to get a call back, please understand the correlation between how your CV looks, the information you've put in your CV, and whether you're getting a call back, right? So we're going to dig into this information and more. It's important, guys, as you are going through your CV, as you are putting it together, really being able to unpack and showcase the things that are relevant for the role. Now, one thing I always say to people is that, guys, make sure all the time that you are tailoring your CV. If there's any piece of advice I could give you guys today, is ensure that you're tailoring your CV for the role you're applying for. I think the biggest mistake that people make is to just put one CV together and use that CV for every single role that they go to, right? Or every single role that they're applying to. And that's not what's going to differentiate you in the market, guys. We need to be smart around how it is we go about applying. And like I said, your CV is your first impression. And also, it needs to speak to the recruiter, it needs to speak to the organization, and it really needs to be appealing just from first impressions. Okay. I don't know how many of you guys actually know the stat that it takes recruiters less than 6 seconds to decide whether they want to read the CV or not, right? So as soon as I see a CV and I put it up, within the first couple of seconds, I almost have scanned through the entire thing and I know whether I want to continue reading or not. Why? Based on the format, based on how it looks, based on the keywords that I'm seeing pop out, based on the skill set, based on your education. So there's so many different aspects, but at a glance, it needs to make the right first impression, right? And that's what we are going to go through today. Okay. So guys, thanks so much for joining. Are any of you streaming from home today? Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. I'm going to try and share my screen right now to get straight into the presentation. And I just want you guys to also just let me know whether you're able to see it. Moeketsi streaming from work. It's that after-hour shift, Moeketsi. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining. Awesome. Guys, let me know if you see this. Give me a thumbs up, maybe put it in the comments as well, just so that I know whether you guys are seeing it before I just continue. Actually, let me use it in presentation. That works better. Guys, are you seeing the screen that I've shared? Please just let me know. You can see me, not my screen. Okay, let's try again. Sorry, guys, just bear with me. Okay, let's try that again. Right, this presenting aspect is a little bit tricky. Let me try that again. Are you able to see this? Welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome. Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to have to share it in this particular way, because as I try to present it, then I lose you guys for some reason. But anyway, okay. It's about the content. So let's try get through this aspect, right? So as I said, one of the biggest things, guys, that's going to be important is understanding firstly that your CV serves as your first introduction to any potential employers, right? Or academic institutions. Anywhere you go, guys, your CV is your first introduction into any place. And that's really what's supposed to tell your story, what's supposed to sell you as an individual before you end up going into the actual interview room. So if you're wanting to get that call back, you're wanting to go, get an opportunity to be interviewed, your CV is actually the first place. It's obviously then, guys, also an opportunity to showcase what your academic credentials are, to show any relevant experience that you guys potentially have for that particular role, and any specialized skills and certifications that you may have. I think a lot of people, forget about the fact that when you are showcasing your CV, it really is something that you are meant to be selling yourself, guys. You are supposed to be showcasing exactly what it is the recruiter wants. How do you go about knowing what the recruiter wants? Well, firstly, so important that as you apply for a role, you have gone through their job spec absolutely thoroughly, right? You've gone through the job spec thoroughly. You understand what it is they are looking for. You understand what it is the company is about. And you are making use of absolutely important and crucial keywords, industry-related keywords. And I'm going to talk you guys through that in a little bit just now. So being able to do that, making sure that you know exactly what it is that the company wants, what the job spec says, what are the skills they are looking for. That's how you start tailoring your CV, right? That's how you start putting in the types of skill sets that you have, the types of strengths that you have that are going to enable you to really just showcase yourself in a way that makes your CV stand out, right? As I said, an excellent CV acts as a gatekeeper, guys. It really influences the decisions that people make as to whether to progress you to the interview stage or not, right? So important that we are taking this opportunity to really showcase ourselves, showcase what it is we are bringing to the table. Now, already just from first glance, guys, I know I've already put an X and a tick next to it, but look at how typical CVs actually look like on the left, right? So most people, when they put together a CV, what they tend to do is that they start at the top with the name and some of the contact details. Then they put in like a lot of different information in bullet points right underneath. There's no objective statement here. There's no professional summary here. So as you can see, just looking at the way that this has been formatted, it's going to take a while for me to try and figure out what's going on. I mean, there's a date here, then there's a job, but then it continues, like everything is in a paragraph format, then it continues thereafter. But it just looks more tedious to read, right? And if I'm taking a quick 5 seconds to try and read through everything, I'm probably going to have to page through a good 5-page CV here, right? I'm going to have to go through this page, go through the next page. It's just not organized in a way that allows my eye to move straight to the aspects I want to be looking at. This way, a lot of people use paragraphs as they're describing what it is that they've done in a particular role. A lot of people don't don't put their information in reverse chronological order. So you'll find that they're giving you a random role here, then the next one, and then the third one after that actually happened before the first one that they've put there. Guys, once a recruiter starts seeing information that is scattered across many different pages, trust me now, you are losing them in those 5 seconds. If I, as a recruiter, have to search for the information I'm looking for, and it's not jumping out at me, you are losing the recruiter in the first 5 seconds. Those are the types of CVs that will page, will look at 1 or 2 things and be like, okay, maybe Paile. Why is it in the maybe Paile? I haven't actually taken the time to read through it. And if I don't have enough yes people in my yes pile, then I'll go back to the maybe Paile and have a look at what they have there. That's the mind of a recruiter, right? It's like, it's either going to be a yes, a maybe, a no. Sometimes it's a downright no, because firstly, the role is for a marketing role and you've got a technical qualification, or you have, something completely different to what it is you've applied for. That's how you see that this applicant has not actually applied their minds at all to the role. They haven't applied their minds at all to what it is they're applying for. They are just hungry to work. But guys, being hungry to work is not going to get you an opportunity to be interviewed. Hunger for work is not what's going to open the door and open the gate for you to be interviewed. You need to go that extra step in tailoring it. You need to go the extra step in ensuring that the actual CV you're submitting speaks to the person it's going to, right? It's like tomorrow is Valentine's Day. You writing a note to the person that you love and not addressing them by name, right? It can be a generic note that you write to 5 different people and you just say, dear love, right? You've been great. I've appreciated your presence and I look forward to many more years of being together. Guys, when you say you appreciate my presence, in what sense? What is it that you love about me? Why do you want to spend time with me? Why do you want to spend the next couple of years with me, right? Having a note that's specifically written to you, that speaks to you, that speaks to your characteristics, that speaks to the actual things that you know are special about you, that your partner loves about you, right? Those are the things that then pull at the heartstrings, right? And I'm just using this because Valentine's is tomorrow, and so I'm randomly putting it out there. For those of you that are not celebrating Valentine's tomorrow as geese, it's not a punt at anyone in particular. I'm just using this as an example, but just to help you guys understand the mind of a recruiter as well, right? It's important that as you write to the recruiter and as you're submitting your application, you speaking to the role that you're applying to, you speaking to the organization, you speaking to why that organization is attractive to you, why this role is attractive to you, why you're the right person for the role. Does that make sense, guys? Let me know in the comments. Keep me engaged in terms of where you're at and whether you're understanding where I'm going with things. But that is why it's important to tailor it, okay? Because like every single one of us, we want roles and letters and notes that are tailored to us. No one wants a generic note that's been written to everyone. And equally, that's what makes you then stand out, right? So as I was saying, the template on the left is not the kind of template that we should be using, guys. And that's purely because it just doesn't grab attention at all. It's not organized. And the other thing that I think a lot of you make a mistake about is not even checking your spelling, your grammar, nothing. You just put it together, you smack it together. At least this one has titles, right? There's other CVs that, guys, it just moves like from one sentence to another, to another, to another. You just don't know what's going on there. And recruiters will not take their time to read that kind of CV. In contrast, if you look at the one on the right, that just looks so much more legible. Already just on first impression, look at how they've done the experience section, right? Look at this section here. The dates are clear. It's very aligned and formatted. The date from this year to that year, this was my role, this was the organization, bullet points. No bullet points here, paragraph. I'm seeing a paragraph of lots of different words. I must fish here for the information. Whereas in the experience side, on the right side, very, very orderly, right? So as a recruiter, when I go in, the first thing I see is the profile summary. I'm able to, in the first 2 seconds, read through your profile summary, get a good sense of who you are. I'm able to pan to the right side of the CV and see the personal information that I want to. What do you say your technical skills are? What do you say your soft skills are? Right? Any additional activities. So my eye can jump to exactly the places I want to jump to get a very holistic view of who you are as an applicant, right? So this is why it's important, and this is what we are talking about when we say put together a standout CV, right? Because it's important, guys, when you want to be noticed in the market, make yourself noticeable. Make your CV noticeable. Once your CV is noticeable, that's when you start getting the callbacks. That is when you start getting the calls, the interviews, and now we are now speaking about interview preparation, right? And getting prepared for the interview. But before you get in front of someone, your CV needs to be impressive. But never make the mistake of having a very impressive CV and then being underwhelming in the interview. I know we're not speaking about interviews today, but I've sat in many different situations where someone is very impressive on CV. They come in front of me, they really haven't prepared. So someone clearly helped them put together CV because it reads well. But then when you sit in front of me, there's a lack of confidence. You haven't prepared questions. You haven't practiced interview questions. Then it just, now I'm looking at the CV and thinking, did I get something wrong as an interviewer? Like, did I just not see something that I was meant to see, right? So never make the mistake of doing so much work on your CV and not doing the work on your interview. But we'll speak about interview much, much later, okay? And not today, I mean like on another live, on another live. So let's go through some of the basics, guys, that I want to really speak to you guys about in today's live, right? Now, in front of me is a very clean template. It's a pity you guys can't see the full template without me having to, maybe let me try and make it smaller. Hopefully you guys can see that a little bit better. Yeah? Okay, that looks a little bit better. So, guys, let me know. Like one of the big debates and topics about CVs has really been about whether to add a picture or not add a picture, right? And I think we went through a phase of where pictures was the thing to add. I personally loved seeing pictures because I'm that kind of a recruiter. I want to be able to visualize the person I'm reading about on the CV. But I think there has been a bit of a shift when it comes to that, right? I think sometimes where you do put a picture on your CV, it can tend to lead towards biases, right? So someone who is not looking at the picture and the information in conjunction can sometimes make a judgment call off the back of how your picture looks. This person, I don't know if I really want this person coming to work for me, put it aside. And they won't even take the time to read the CV, right? So it does lend itself to a bit of biases depending on who's reading the CV, who's the one recommending you when you do put a picture, right? So I think to get rid of that kind of bias and to really just be able to position yourself for who you are, your capabilities, the information that is relevant for the role, I think err on the side of not having a picture on your CV. I still have one on mine. But err on the side of not having a picture on your CV, just to ensure that people are looking directly at the information that's provided in front of them. Okay, so let me know if that's helping you guys, and let me know if that has been useful. Guys, I will be looking at the chat to see if there's any questions that are coming up. Please use this time to also be asking questions because I really want to use the time to engage with you. This will be the last slide that we are going through, and I'm going to take you through all the different sections that are important within a CV And then I'm just going to open it up to questions and answer some of the questions that have come through on the actual the Q&A that I put up in the stories on Instagram. If you're here and you're not on Instagram and follow me on Instagram, I generally put up a Q&A on my Instagram feed in the stories. And that is what's going to enable you to ask your questions up front. And then when we come to the live, I'm immediately going to jump straight into those questions. So make sure that you're following on that platform as well, because it's a lot more interactive and engaging in terms of different aspects of Instagram that I can use. And then we'll also still use this opportunity for questions as well. Okay. Karabo, what was that? Will the document be? Okay, I'm sure you'll put it up again. Cool. So guys, let's go through some of the key aspects here that are important for you to note. Look at the CV template that I've put in front of you, right? It's of a person who is a web developer. Now, let's go through, first and foremost, just looking at the CV at a glance. It's attractive, right? There's profile. I know this, the profile summary. I know where education is. I know where the skill sets are, the awards, experience section, where it starts, where the contact details are. It is well formatted. It is aligned, right? You're not having one paragraph starting here, others starting a little bit to the left, others starting a little bit to the right. It's aligned, guys. So the formatting, the spelling, the grammar, all of these aspects need to be well presented on the CV, right? And we're going to go through that in a little bit more when we go through each of these aspects, right? So as you can see, the first thing that's important, the professional layout. Now, one of the things that's really spoken about within kind of HR and recruiting world is really ensuring that you keep your CV short and concise. If you can get your CV down to a page, guys, especially if you've only been working for about 5 years or less, you shouldn't be having a 3-page CV, right? Once you have a 2-page CV, 3-page CV, when you've only been working for 5 years or less, you're really putting too much unnecessary information. Remember, like I said, in the first 5 seconds, I want to have a glance at your CV and know whether I want to read more about you or not, whether I get all the necessary information about you or not on the actual CV, right? Now, if I need to start paging page 2, page 3, page 4, and you're now writing long job descriptions per role that you are in, I don't need to know that. Like, that is not something that needs to be on your CV, guys. We need to learn to keep it concise. We need to learn to keep it to the point, right? So this is what this particular example shows you right here, okay? Will the templates be shared with those who signed up for Get Corporate Ready? So I definitely am going to have a template link that I will be sending to you guys, right? That is going to help you just have access to some of these templates. I've got a link where you have access to the CV template, the cover letter template, CV template, cover letter template, right? So it's really a plug in and play. This is the template. This is what it's going to look like. But for those of you that are live today, if you send me an email before, let me see, before 7:30, we're going to end this call at 7:30. Any email I get before 7:30 today, I will send you email to these templates. You guys will not have to pay for the templates that I've put together. But just because you guys are here, you're here live, you will get the opportunity to get these particular templates. I will, however, put my email address towards the end of the session today, and then you guys can use that to send me emails so that I can send you the link to the templates I've put together. This is just a thank you to those of you that made the time to be here on the first live that we are doing today. Okay, so I hope that answers you, Karabo. So, and that's the same question that I've just gotten now as well, right? Thank you for the informative session. How can I access the template, right? As it's not visible on my side. Can you guys see this template? Who can see the template that I've got up on the screen? Give me a thumbs up or a heart. There's a little reaction button there at the bottom. If you can see it, if you can give me a thumbs up, that would really be helpful. No, it's blurry. Is that any better, guys? Oh, wait, two. Okay. Okay. Awesome. So, okay, perfect. There's not much you need to read on it, guys. I've really just put together a very basic template. So there's not information that you need to read, but let's go through the actual setup of this particular CV, right? Firstly, like I said, professional layout. A lot of people try and get, instead of doing a 2-3 page CV, trying to get that onto a 1-pager is what's going to really, really help you make sure that the recruiter is seeing all the necessary information on 1 page. And a lot of the templates that I've put together, as you can see, will have almost the same 1 page, and there's a line right down the center. And you get the opportunity to put information in one section of the CV and an opportunity to put information in the next section as well, right? So having something like this is really what's going to help you guys be able to fit the necessary information on 1 page, right? Now, one of the first things that is going to be important for us to have on your CV is your contact details, right? Guys, your contact details are so important. And I think we underestimate the importance of these details right here at the bottom, right? And what I want you to know is that when you put together your contact details, it really is the most important part of it is for you to ensure that your details are correct. I know this sounds like obviously bohlale that'd be correct. No, it's actually not obvious, right? A lot of people tend to leave out 1 digit. Now, how am I supposed to call you when I've got 1 less digit than I need to, right? Or they misspell their email address. Now, I've sent you an email, it's bouncing back. I don't know what's missing in the email address. And therefore, as a recruiter, I'm not going to go out of my way to now try call you to make sure that you're available, to ask you again to send me your email address. Guys, make sure your contact information is correct. Now, what are the 4 things that are important on your contact information? Your phone number, your email address, your location. And by location, I don't mean your full address, right? You can just say Johannesburg, Gauteng, right? You can say, a suburb, a particular suburb. You can say I stay in Parktown, Johannesburg. So we really just need to get a sense of bearing. Where are you? Are you based in Durban? Are you in a completely different province? Because if you are, then one of the questions we'll ask you are, do you realize the role is based in Johannesburg? Do you realize the role is based in Cape Town? Are you going to be relocating or do you live in Cape Town? That is the reason why we need to understand what where exactly it is that you live, right? But you don't need to be giving the number of your unit, the name of the complex, the street name, all of those things. That information is not necessary. So keep it to suburb, keep it to city. That is going to be important. Obviously, if you're applying for an international opportunity somewhere, make sure that you are noting that you're in South Africa, right? So just use your common, not so common sense to put that kind of information in, depending on what you're applying to. Now, one of the last things that most people are starting to put in is your LinkedIn profile, right? I think so often we underestimate why having a LinkedIn profile is important. And LinkedIn, guys, is becoming a very key aspect of what you actually need to be putting in to your CV, because it's becoming almost a live up-to-date version of your CV. At any given point in time, when I'm trying to get a better sense of someone that is applying for a particular role, I jump straight into LinkedIn, I type in the name, and I see what they're about, right? So if the CV is not giving me any joy, if I'm happy with the CV and I actually want to see more about you, LinkedIn is where I go. And so the LinkedIn profile is actually important, right? And that I would suggest you put here at the bottom. Some people, because they've got profiles, portfolios, their own websites. That's why a website is also here as an option. But instead of that, you should be putting in then a LinkedIn profile if you do not have a website, right? So that's what's going to be important, guys. And that's it from a contact information perspective. I don't need to know your health status. I don't need to know your marital status. I don't need to know what code driving license you have. I don't need to know your ID number. I don't need to know your date of birth, right? Those things are not important, guys, when it comes to putting together a very succinct CV, right? If it's necessary for the industry you're in, then you can put it in. If you are applying for a driver's position, then yes, driver's license is important there, right? So guys, understand what you're applying for and customize your CV for that, right? But as a basic minimum, these are the aspects that are absolutely important. Okay. The next thing, guys, is a profile summary. Let's go back to the top here. We were speaking about profile summary. Now, a profile summary, guys, is something that really introduces you to the recruiter, right? So profile summary, some people call it an objective statement, right? In a CV, serves the purpose of providing a brief yet impactful overview of the candidate, right? The intention of having a profile summary is for you to quickly grab the attention of an employer or recruiter and convey very essential information about yourself, your professional identity, your skills, and what your career goals are. Now, let's unpack a little bit about profile summary. Some of the key things that I think are important, guys. Understand that it's an introduction to you. In this introduction, you are basically detailing the role that you're in, your profession. You're highlighting the key skill sets that you've seen are necessary for the role, first and foremost, but the key skill sets that you have that you know are necessary for the role that you are going into. You then express what your career goals are, why it is you're applying to that particular role, and that's how you then start tailoring your objective statement. So in there should be something about your qualification, your key skill sets, and like achievements that you've had. It's not a cover letter, guys. There's a difference between a CV, a cover letter, there's a difference between a profile summary in your CV and your cover letter. A cover letter is a lot more lengthy, and I'll have a separate live just for that. But the profile summary in your CV is really, guys, a 4-5 sentence summary detailing qualification, interest in the role, skill set you have, and you then express your career goals, why it is that you are applying for this particular role and what makes you a great candidate for the role. Okay, so it's going to be important that you focus on the profile summary, guys, because that is really the introduction to your CV. Then recruiters will go further into other aspects of your CV as well. Okay, I'm seeing some comments that are coming up here on the site that I just want to maybe attend to. Okay, I note this template does not have reference contact details. So where would we place this? Because in some job descriptions, they ask for a minimum of 3 contactable references, right? So when we're doing references, a lot of times, guys, I say to people, don't just put references out there, right? Because firstly, just from a popular perspective, it's so important that we are not just sharing other people's contact details, email addresses, without them actually knowing that we've put it out there for them, right? So where they do ask you to put in contactable references, you could potentially, in that particular CV, going to that particular organization, where I have awards, you could use that as references if there are no award sections, if you don't have anything to place under awards, right? You could have references here, you put the person's name, the contact details, and their title, right? So the name, contact details, title, and maybe the company that they worked for, but I suggest not to put that because so many times people actually change, and I may say, oh, this was my boss at this particular company, but the person doesn't work there anymore. But the tip that I have, guys, is always make sure that whoever you're putting on your CV as a reference is someone that actually knows that you're putting them down as a reference and is comfortable for you to send the contact details. Okay, so please do that check. There's nothing worse than someone just getting called out of the blue for a reference they haven't prepared for. They can't remember who it is the person is asked to be speaking about. Make sure you've called the person before you put it there. So if you do need to put it, maybe put it right here at the bottom under this award section. You could change that to references and put the contact details there. Okay, guys, I'm showing you this as a snapshot of what a one-page CV looks like. If your CV needs to run into the next page for very valid information, then you do that. You keep the template consistent and you move to the next page and you put in the additional information that you require. Okay, so Moekete, I hope that that has answered your question. But for those of you that are not asked to put any contactable references, please rather just have a line that says references available upon request, right? Go through the application process first. I don't understand companies that want it off the bat, because you don't know whether you're even going to interview the person, and then those CVs are then just lying around, right? And people have access to other people's contact information. Privacy is important, and I think it's important that organizations also are ensuring that, as you go through the process, it makes sense for the stage that you're in. You first have to go through an HR interview. You may need to go through a psychometric assessment. You may need to come in for an assessment center. There's so many different phases to get to before we ask for the references. References are generally then used only when we've got the top 3 people, the top 2 people, and we want to decide who's getting the role. Then we go into references, right? So it's something that really happens at the end of a recruiting cycle and process. So that's why I say it's not necessary upfront in your CV. Okay, Mulalo, is it necessary to attach all the copies of your qualifications when applying for the job? No. It really isn't. It depends on the role that you're applying for. It depends on what they've requested. So some roles will request for you to just send a CV and a cover letter, and that's what you send, right? I know a lot of people will send that plus like a batch of annexures, which is certificates and training courses and all of these things that come with it. That's not necessary unless they ask for it. I think the 2 main documents that you need to be focusing on is your CV, is your cover letter. Make sure that if there's anything for an application, you've got those 2 and you're sending them through. If the organization has not asked for a cover letter, has asked just for a CV, you just send through the CV, right? But if they just say applications are open, here's an email address, make sure you're sending a cover letter and a CV together. Okay. Hopefully that helps. So no, it's not necessary and shouldn't be necessary for them to have that. But if they ask for it, please do attach it. Okay. Perfect. Is it important to include a cover letter on application? Yes, Mulalo, I have answered that question as well. What would a typical profile of a student look like or include? So Karabo, are you speaking about the profile summary? Are you speaking about this section here at the top that says profile summary? Because if you are, I think here, very simple to kind of introduce yourself as, so say you're studying law, I'm being an LLB student, studying a BCom law at this particular university. My current strengths are communication, legal writing and research. I really find these valuable, and I've showcased this particular skill in being part of a winning group in this moot competition, and I look forward to being a candidate attorney at this particular law firm, right? So I know you've asked me off the bat what it should look like, but in summary, that you're a student, which university, what are you studying, what are your key skill sets or strengths, how have you showcased that in a particular achievement that you have, why it is you're looking forward to becoming a candidate attorney in terms of what your career aspiration is, right? Aspiring lawyer, aspiring associate in a corporate commercial law firm. Those are the kinds of things that you'd put in the profile summary. But where you make it distinct is being able to really string in strengths that are unique to you and things that are a value add that you bring to the table, right? A lot of people will try to keep it very generic and say, I'm a hardworking student and I'm diligent and They use those types of keywords and strengths that anyone can use. But what is it about you as a candidate that makes you stand out? What is it? What achievement do you have that makes you stand out? What extracurricular activity have you stood out in that makes you stand out? What is the key and core aspiration you have to become a lawyer? What's inspired you to become that, right? So it has to bring in a personal element into the profile summary that makes people want to find out more about you, right? And that's where the cover letter, then you detail that in a bit more detail. Okay, so I hope that helps you, Karabo. Those are the basics that should be going into a profile summary, and I'll definitely be detailing that out in other lives as we go into more detail, and particularly around the cover letter one as well. Okay. Let me head back to the template, guys, and then I'll come back to the other questions just so that we're making sure that we are covering everything, right? So your education summary, guys, absolutely important. So after your profile summary, having an education summary is absolutely critical, right? So in that, once again, in reverse chronological order, your most recent qualification first, the name of your qualification, the name of your university or college that you attended, the years that you attended that particular, or the years that you spent doing that particular qualification, right? So this is what information is important. Then after that, you go into your undergrad. So if you've got a postgrad, that's the first thing that goes up. Then you go into your undergrad, then you go to matric, right? Don't put matric first, and that's not what's the most relevant information for the role that you're applying for. The most relevant information is your current one, right? And guys, one thing that I want to make very clear, if you have not completed a qualification, please put in brackets in progress. Don't put it out there as if you've got a master's in something. Kanti, you only in, month 3 of doing your master's. Master's in technology, in brackets, put in progress so that people know you're still currently studying it. If you've completed it, you don't need to put anything in brackets. If you haven't finished it, so say you did it, but you haven't finished it and you're not in progress of finishing it, right? Then don't put it there and just leave it there as if it's a qualification you have, guys. Because by the time you come for an interview, and now I'm assuming we've brought you in because you said you have a master's, and only to find out in the interview you don't have one, then it makes it look like you've fabricated that, or you've put it out there to make yourself look more appealing for the particular role. It's not an accurate summary of who you are. It's not an accurate indication of what you bring to the table. Does that make sense, guys? I hope that makes sense. So if you don't, if you haven't completed something, rather in brackets say incomplete, right? In the interview, then I'll ask you about it. If you're still studying it, say in progress. If you haven't started, don't put it there. Okay. So those are the important things, guys, that you need to put under the education section in reverse chronological order. Make sure your dates speak to each other. Guys, if you finish matric in whatever, if you finish matric in a particular year, then obviously the following year is when you're doing your undergrad. Once you complete your undergrad, the following year is when you do the next one, right? So make sure that as you look through your dates, they all speak to each other. A big thing that a lot of people sometimes confuse is the date which they graduated and the date which they completed. Guys, you complete in the year that you write your final exams, right? So if you've written your final exams in the November or December of 2023, that's when you finished studying the course. Just because you're graduating this year in April doesn't mean that you put this year's doesn't mean that you put this year on your CV as the year that you finished your qualification. You finished it. You've completed your studies in 2023, not 2024. Graduation doesn't mean an additional year of study. Okay, so make sure you're making the distinction as you go through the section. Skill set section, guys, I think is important. And here, I want you to really focus on the role that you're going into. What is it about the role? What are the key strengths that they're looking for in that role? What are the key skill sets that you have that complement the key strengths of the role? Those are the ones that you prioritize. Guys, a lot of strengths, you don't need to list all of them. I've seen CVs that have 15 different strengths on them, right? What I'm interested in is, for the role you're applying to, what are the key ones that are important to the particular role? Now, those will fall predominantly under the technical section and the soft skill section. So within the skill set section, I always say to people, try keep it to a minimum of 10 different skills. The top 5, make sure that those are interpersonal skills. The bottom 5, technical skills. If you've got more technical than interpersonal, that's absolutely fine, depending on the role that you're going into. But having some interpersonal skills are going to be important. What are interpersonal skills? Your communication ability, your leadership style, right? Your ability to work in teams. Those are skills that are important for day-to-day working, your time management, right? So don't just put down skills because you know it's important. Put down skills that you are good at, because when you come into an interview and I'm asking you, I see that you've put this and this particular skill set as a strength of yours. Can you tell me of a time where you've used this? Yeah, you need to be able to speak to that. So don't just go and Google or put chat GPT interpersonal skills and just copy and paste some of the skills there. You need to put down skills that you are good at, that you can validate through examples. Okay, so in the skill set section, absolutely important, refine it for the role that you are going into. Okay, don't just put skills that you've done, put skills that you are good at. Yeah, because once again, the space is limited in terms of being able to express yourself in the skill sets that you have. Guys, if you've got achievements or awards, so important that you're putting that out there. It really is one of those badges that stand out to a recruiter, because it says that you've gone the extra mile in a particular space. Whether you're on the dean's list, whether it's academic, guys, whether it has to do with leadership, whether it has to do with community service, whether it has to do with some competition that you were in, put awards that you have won on there that you know are going to make you stand out, right? That you know not every single person has these particular awards. Not every single person has achieved these particular achievements. So that's, once again, what's going to help you differentiate yourself in the market. So make sure you are paying attention to the achievement and award section, right? I've put it here in this section because, once again, I feel like on the right, the short form information needs to be there, right? And where you are then expressing yourself in long form, that is what then goes into the broader section. Okay, so it doesn't mean that all CVs need to look exactly like this. You'll see from the link that I'm going to be sending you guys, there are CVs that look slightly different in the allocation of space, in the allocation of where the education is. It doesn't necessarily mean that education has to be on the right at the top. It doesn't mean experience needs to be the one under here. I feel like every time that if you're a student, education needs to feature somewhere up there, right? Because the likelihood is that you don't have a lot of experience to speak to, right? But if you're someone that is a lot more seasoned, that is mid-career, then experience needs to be something that comes up first, right? So the way I've put it is just to demonstrate how to detail the information that is important to put out there on your actual CV, okay? But you'll see from the different templates that I have that it actually can go in a lot of different sections of the actual CV. Now, I've spoken through achievements. Guys, if you've gone out of your way to have other professional certifications, please ensure that you're including these, right? So whether under education, as you've detailed some of this, you have a section that says professional certifications or certificates, a different section, and then you detail there what some of those certifications actually are. Okay, it's going to be important that you are adding that in there. But guys, once again, the things that you think are relevant for the role. Okay, that just add to your skill set, add to the value that you can bring to the actual role. Quantifying your achievements, guys, and keywords are some of the sections that I think are becoming very important in the era of CVs in this day and age. And by quantifying, it really means that as you describe some of your achievements or some of the things that you are doing from a responsibility perspective, you are able to quantify it. So instead of saying, I was the best salesperson in the organization, how were you the best salesperson in the organization? Okay, then you say something more around, I was one of the top salespeople in the organization as I increased revenue in the first quarter of 2024 by 30% by implementing a, customer service strategy, right? So you need to be able to speak to, when you say that you've achieved something, you need to be able to quantify how you've achieved it. What did you do to achieve it, right? So those things become important. And this is not in the achievement section. This is more as you are going through the experience section and as you're writing down what it is that you have done in that role, right? So a lot of times people, like I said earlier, tend to put a lot of their responsibilities in here. And it's important to keep the key responsibilities that you have attained in that particular role, but learn to quantify it and learn to ensure that in the first couple of bullet points, you're speaking to what you've achieved in this particular role, right? So if you're the top salesperson in the role, that's what you put in there. If you were able to you came up with a particular project that really has stood the test of time in the organization and they're now using it as their template, you put stuff in there like that really just identifies you as someone that is a thought leader or someone that has gone the extra mile or someone that is innovative, right? So you need to learn to quantify your achievements. We will go through this in a different live, in a different section. This is not the only CV live that we'll be doing. Others, I will dig deeper into actually constructing some of those sections and what that actually looks like. Now, finally, is keywords, right? Keywords, guys, when you are looking at your CV, it's so important that if you're in a particular industry, the types of keywords you're using in your skill set section as you are describing the work that you do under your actual experience section, in your profile summary, you need to understand what are the keywords that are being used in my industry. Whether you're in the legal industry, the medical industry, if you think about the industry that you're in, what are some of those keywords that allow for you to be noticeable? Particularly in the era of ATS systems, guys, which are the applicant tracking systems. Those systems are primed to pick up on keywords, to pick up on types of language that speaks to the organization, right? And so it's important that whichever section you're in, use particular keywords as you're describing yourself in your profile summary, in your experience section, that speak to the organization, so that if they are using an ATS system, you're someone that comes up as one of the top applicants in that space because your CV directly matches the keywords that they are looking for. Okay, is this all making sense, guys? Sorry, I feel like I raced through that. There's always typically quite a lot of information to share when it comes to this, and I know a lot of questions as well. So I wanted to just spend this time now just to check in with you guys to see if all of that made sense, and answer some questions that you guys may have. Guys, I hope that this was helpful. I know it's a lot of information in one go, and I'm cognizant that it's been an hour already. So let me know if there's any pressing questions that you have that I have not answered as yet. Make sure that you're putting it into the chat, because I'm going to start going through some of the sections, the questions now. Okay. One of the questions that did come through from Instagram, guys, that I think is important to speak about is, someone asked me, if you've got a side hustle, right, is it something that you should be including in your CV or not? And if it is something that you should be including in your CV, where and how? Now, if you are applying for a particular role, guys, one of the things that you are going to face at some point is, if you're in a particular role and your side hustle has to do with that role as well, you're going to find that a lot of the organizations have a policy against doing other work similar to what it is you're doing in your current organization outside of the organization, right? It becomes a conflict of interest for most organizations. So if you're doing a side hustle, ask yourself, what does it add to my CV? me doing the side hustle, if I'm putting it into my CV, what is it adding? What am I trying to say by adding this information into my CV? If you're someone that's been unemployed for some time and you are now putting in a section of work that you've done to keep yourself busy, then fantastic. Why? Because it shows that you are resourceful. It shows that you weren't just sitting for the entire year or the entire 2 years that you are unemployed. It shows that you went out of your way to ensure that you're keeping yourself busy, right? It shows that you went out of your way to come up with a concept that's going to enable you to make money. It means you're someone that is entrepreneurially minded, right? So in the context of I've been unemployed for a long time, these are some of the things I've done in the time that I've been unemployed. Perfection, added in there. But if you've been working in a particular role and you've got a side hustle, right, that has nothing to do with your role. So if you're applying to be an accountant and your side hustle is doing face beats on the weekend and doing makeup, why add it? It doesn't elevate your profile in any particular way, right? So if you're adding something, add it because it's relevant to your profile, add it because it elevates your profile, your value add. It's saying something about you that's going to be relevant to the role, to the recruiter, to the organization. Does that make sense, guys? So side hustles, and I know a lot of us have that, it's not necessary to put it there if it does not add to your profile. And if it does add to your profile, one thing that you'll probably realize is that it's going to be something that's going to be required of you to stop. So if you are doing something as a side hustle and it directly correlates to the work that you'll be doing in the organization, it is something you're going to have to disclose as you start in the organization. And it's potentially something that you may have to stop whilst you are working if it has a direct correlation to the work that you are currently doing, because then it becomes a conflict of interest. You could then start using the company information, the company, documents and that kind of thing to enhance your side hustle, right? And also it's taking away from what you should be focusing on. And it's in direct competition with what you're doing in your day-to-day role. So your side hustles, I think, be discerning around what you put on the side hustle and make sure that you are at least ticking off a very important aspect by putting it in there, by showcasing that I was unemployed, this is what I've kept myself busy with, right? But if it's unrelated, then ask yourself, is it important to add there? And if so, why is it important to add there? Okay. Cool. Let's maybe go through some of the other questions that we have. Okay, let's see. What have I missed? I see there's quite a few here. Typical profile of a student. Okay, we did go through that. I have a certificate that I obtained when I was doing my VAC work. Which section should I put my certificate on? Work experience or certificate and training? So rather put that under work experience, right? So if that is something that falls under your extracurricular activity, so if you're a student and the work experience you have is of an internship, is of a VAC program, then rather just put there that you did this particular VAC program. Okay. I hope that helps you, promise. Yes, 100%. How do you search for key industry words? Is it a simple Google search or can you get these words from the job spec? Both. So great questions, Moeketsi. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening here. My camera's doing its own thing. Give me 2 seconds. So great question. I think it is important that you do a Google search, right? Do a Google search of your industry, the industry keywords. But also the job spec will give you a lot of the keywords, right? It will speak to a lot of the different sections that are going to be important for you to be mindful of. And that's why I say going through the actual job spec prior to putting together your CV helps you tailor your CV in a way that allows for you to then stand out. Okay, so that's why that aspect is going to be important. So do a Google search, but also ensure that you are doing going through the actual job spec as well. Lebo? This is such an informative session. Ooh. Sorry, guys. Can you see me? Am I back on? Sorry, I don't know why something disconnected there. Okay, if I'm a law student and add that I'm tutoring on the side, would it impact me or will it show my level of resourcefulness? Tutoring, fantastic, especially if you're still a student, guys. So that's what I meant by if you're doing side aspects, right? Side gigs, side hustles. Make sure that it's something that is relevant and is showing your level of resourcefulness. If you are still a student, ensure that you're putting in the extracurricular activities. What have you done over and above your academics? What have you done to really differentiate yourself, right? And to ensure that you are building a skill set whilst you are studying. So making sure that you are adding that particular information in is going to be important. Tutoring is a great side thing to be doing. And that actually, I'd be putting it under your experience section, especially if you haven't had professional experiences yet and you've done VAC programs, you've done tutoring, that's stuff that you put under your experience section. But once you've started working, guys, some of those things start falling off, right? And then you don't need to be showing extracurricular activities. If you've been working for a while, you start prioritizing the type of work that you've done because that becomes most relevant. But if you are still a student at university right now, make sure that you are able to detail some of the extracurricular work that you've done. And even if you've got a side, like a weekend job that you're doing, put it in there because it's showing that you're resourceful and it's showing that you've gone above and beyond to ensure that you're building a skill set over and above your academics. So it's definitely something that is a positive to add to your CV. Okay. If I've started my own student project, do I add it under experience? Should I separate work from volunteer experience? So starting a student project, what do you mean by that level? I think I need to get a better sense of what you mean by you've started a student project. Because if it's a project, like what are you doing? Why is it important to add it? Is it part of your studies? Just give me a better sense, the level of what it is that you are referring to. And then, guys, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. I think we'll just do one last question if there is any. But guys, I think, the essence of what I want you guys to get from the session today is really just having a better understanding of the importance of your CV, right? So the formatting, the layout, absolutely crucial. The experience section and the education section always going in reverse chronological order. Right? So whether you're speaking about the roles that you've had, the most recent role, you start with that first. You start with very accurate dates, right? You make sure that as you kind of go down into the other sections, what you're putting in speaks to each other. You're quantifying your achievements. You're quantifying the kind of work that you've done, right? And also you detailing your skill set. You're detailing your award section as well. Those of you, like I said, if you haven't had professional experiences yet, you put your extracurricular activities and your part-time work as well. Okay, so those are the things that are going to be important, guys. And obviously your professional summary has to come first. You need to have a good 4-5 sentence introduction into who you are, detailing only the most relevant information that's going to make you attractive, right? And keywords. Go through the job spec before you start putting together your CV. That's what's going to help you tailor your CV, and that's what's going to help you tailor your cover letter as well. Okay, so lastly, Lebo has come back. Like a student organization that provides mentorship to law students and assists them in their legal studies and informs students of different legal careers. Okay, so you're saying you've started a student organization. So put that under as your extracurricular activities. Okay, so that's something that you can put under extracurricular activities, and you can say launched student organization or started a student organization. You can put that somewhere under there. Unless it's something that is a fully fledged, something that is running, that you are able to make money from, that you're getting paid from. So then you maybe put it under like the work that you've done, the part-time work that you've done, right? So, but if it's something that you've started and you're wanting to show that you are someone that is innovative, I think absolutely important to put it there, but maybe put it under the extracurricular activities, because that's what's going to give us a better sense of what you've kept yourself busy with during the time at university. Okay. Okay, let me quickly share my email address. For those of you that are on the call, please do not share this with every single person. But I'm going to check anyway. I'm going to check for those of you that are sending your emails. Let's make it before, okay, because we've taken some time before quarter to 8. Okay. So that's the email address, guys. You're welcome to send me an email, and then I will send you guys a link to a CV profile and a cover letter profile. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for engaging. Thank you for your questions. I've really appreciated this section. Thank you for being one of the first to be on my YouTube Live. Definitely great learning experience for myself. Thank you for your patience with me today. And I'm so looking forward to all the other YouTube Lives that we'll be doing and covering lots of different sections. Like I said, it's not the first and only that we'll be doing of CV. We will delve into more intricate sections around keywords, how to find them, how to search them. We'll go into the LinkedIn profile, right? How LinkedIn profile is an online version of your CV and that kind of thing. So we will be doing that in the weeks to come. So we will definitely start refining that in a bit more detail. But guys, thank you so much. It's been absolutely awesome engaging with you, and wishing all of you a great evening. And we will certainly be chatting soon. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.